in the beautiful community of James Smith Cree Nation, and we're here with Kids Sport today as they're opening their first chapter ever to be on First Nations land.
Well, I think it's long overdue for a chapter to be on a First Nation and to have First Nations people helping to lead and make decisions on who should be helped and who should be served in their communities.
Hey, good morning everybody. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, we're doing all right? Okay, awesome. That's good to hear. Awesome. Hopefully I made it around to everybody, shake your hand, give you some knuckles or maybe a high five. So now just with a show of hands, how many of the kids, the students in here know what Kids Sport is? Raise your hand if you know what it is.
It's very important for the kids to have it because, when we talk about sport and getting involved with communities, one of the things that we don't have here is the access to facility or to a lot of equipment. When we talk about, bringing sport into communities, we want it to be sustainable. We want it to, last longer than, the time that I spend here or the time that we have the Kids Sport crew here, right? We want it to, be healthy and prosperous after we leave.
Kids Sport helps kids like you get involved in sports by paying for the registration fees, right? So all kids can play. So all kids have that access to organized sport, to being involved, playing soccer, basketball, whatever sport that it is you want to commit to. Definitely that's something I would have benefited from when I was younger for all the sports that I like to participate in.
With Kids Sports and the chapter that's open up here, the ability for them to have access to the funding for registration fees is huge. Because one of the things for me growing up is, I grew up with a single mom who, is really spread thin. I'm obviously a pretty big guy. I've consumed a lot of food, same thing with my sisters. We're all pretty tall, strong individuals, but we also did a lot of sports. So having to pay all those registration fees, all those transportation fees, it got a lot. And so to have something, get your hockey fees paid for or get your track and field fees paid for, that's something huge.
Moving back home 4 years ago, we had probably 5 kids in sports. We have reached where we've had a hockey team full of kids that went out to FSIN this year and paying their registration fees for that and getting them equipped through the equipment that was donated to our community.
Yeah, I think having access to sport is important for everyone. Sport can be a great tool to help people connect, to help people have healthy, active lifestyles.
Now, as Brett said, it is a very, very special day for Kids Sport in our more than 25-year history. Not just in Saskatchewan, but in all of Canada. This is the very first local Kids Sport chapter to launch on a First Nation.
Sport is very important to me. It taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about who I was as an individual, and then also taught me the life skills such as discipline.
It's a way to bring people together and to bring communities together. So I think having people accessing sport is really important. It teaches them skills that they'll use throughout their life, communication skills, leadership skills, and the ability to work on a team, something that you use your entire life, not just in sport.
So growing up, it wasn't always the best thing for me, right? It wasn't always the easiest thing, sometimes going out, right? You never know what's gonna quite happen to you. The bad things that you can get sucked into really fast. It was definitely a challenge growing up for me.
In order for me to be a high-level performing athlete, right, there was a lot of things that I had to do to discipline myself to get there, right? So there was a lot of parties I missed out on to study, to train, to do lifting, right? As well as, my eating habits, those changed greatly. First year university, I was living off of pudding cups and Kool-Aid for a week, right? And it wasn't the best kind of thing. And so learning that stuff, I kind of grew and got to know who I was. And then, also understand the importance of, giving back to communities.
And one of the things that really helped change that was sport. That's something that was for me, and that's something that I really appreciated, because sport is more than just running around. It's more than just playing. It's more than, you know, getting a good sweat on, right? But it's a language. You know, Nelson Mandela, he has a famous quote that sport is more than sport. It's a language of understanding, of, you know, breaking down walls, of breaking down barriers, and coming together.
Brett's, first off, he's a great person. I got to know him pretty well over the years. He's a really good person. He's a great volunteer. He does a lot for track and field in Saskatchewan, but he's also a fantastic athlete. And for, I think, the kids to see a role model like Brett is critical. He's somebody that shows the kids that they can accomplish great things too if they set their mind to it.
Right? There was, you know, growing up in a non-Indigenous community, I was, you know, the raisin in the rice pudding. My way of life, my view, my worldview, everything was very different than everybody else's. But while I was in the sport, whether it was basketball, volleyball, I was playing badminton, I felt as an equal. I felt like I belonged there, and I was meant to be there.
He's done a lot of hard work to get where he's at. He's made a lot of really good decisions in his life to get to where he's at, and I think kids seeing that that's possible for them is something that should inspire them.
If you were to imagine, you know, like I had a glass of water, and, you know, every negative experience our community has gone through, it's like putting dirt inside the cup. And, you know, the water starts to get dirty and starts to get, you know, a little polluted. And rather than trying to, you know, spend the time and, you know, trying to fish out all the, you know, the gunk, all the mud, everything that's in that cup, it's easier to, you know, just dump more positive, clean water into that cup until it starts to dilute and, you know, it starts to pour over with all this positive stuff.
He's connected to this community. He has family here, and he's worked and volunteered and given his time here as well. So it's something that is, you know, having an Indigenous leader come out and be seen by these kids shows that there's opportunities for them to become leaders as well.
For me, I've always felt like, you know, I was a good athlete, but I always felt like I needed to be something more. I felt there was something, you know, greater of a purpose within me. I was able to work with communities all over Saskatchewan, bringing them, you know, track and field, to get them involved, to build sustainable sport within the community, right? Because I'm only one guy, and going there for an afternoon is, you know, can only do so much, but setting up a sustainable sport program within the community, like kids sport, is something that is very important that we need.
Oh, it's the first ever kids sport chapter on a First Nation. It's special. It's hopefully the first of many, but I think just acknowledging that this is special is something that I wanted to be a part of.
With sport, I learned more than just how to throw a rock or how to turn or, you know, be strong, anything like that. I also learned, you know, life skills, time management. What do I do with my time? How do I spend my time? And those are all important things that I still use today.
Yeah, I mean, sport has been everything to me. I've played sports from a very young age. My sport of choice was volleyball, and it gave me an opportunity to go to post-secondary school and got a degree. And after I was done playing at a high level, I found a career in sport. For me, it's been really everything good that's happened in my life, I can point back to sport.
Ideally, I want the students here to understand that, yeah, it's like life is hard, but there is positives, right? In our culture, we believe in, you know, there's a two-sided coin with everything. So every day that, you know, the sun sets, it rises for a new day. We have these positive events coming, and we have these positive initiatives, you know, not only from kids sport, but from the community itself. And so that's something I want them to know, is that, you know, hope.
If you have program ideas you'd like to see on Max TV Local, let us know at sasktel.com/local.